how to say it properly, eliminated probably. Yeah.
I mean, this is something that like you would expect from like Mossad or some other big intel agency. And
Before we continue, we invite you to follow our channel, the only American show reporting live from Ukraine every day.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Joe Lindsley talking to you from Kyiv, continuing my daily radio broadcast with a new Bob Sarat, with my friend. We goes by code name Blacksmith, part of our Ukrainian Freedom News team. Blacksmith talking to us from Lviv. I'm here in Kyiv. Blacksmith, thank you for standing in for Bob today. And this is it's an unusual situation because every single weekday since February 24th, 2022, since the first day of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, I have spoken on Chicago's WGN radio. It's hard to believe, man. I mean, 2022, every day, every weekday, except for like Christmas and all that. 2023, 2024. And now, today, I'm talking to you, man.
First of all, hi, hello to everybody. And it's a big honor to be instead of the Bob Sarat, honestly. So don't be very judgmental for me. To me, my English level and everything and all of the rest. I will try to do my best about the news.
Thanks, man, for being here and to explain what we're going to be doing. I mean, I don't want to give up these daily broadcasts, and I want to keep up the same discipline because, if you don't, I mean, even now we had some glitches and, I said, oh, maybe I take a day off, but then you lose it forever, I think. And we want to keep it going. So we're going to post this the same time that I would used to air live on the radio at 7:20 in the morning Chicago time, 3:20 Ukraine. And we're going to have a series of guest hosts to help me in this conversation. So we'll get some interesting voices. And Blacksmith, thank you for agreeing to do this. I know your main role on our team is making videos that we produce, which you can see on Instagram, and we can talk about that in time. But like that's something separate from my radio reports, but it's been a different way of reporting and storytelling, and a way to reach people, on social media, and that's really transformed our work in many ways. It's as we try to punch through I mean, you have the radio audience sort of captive, people that are driving to work, but social media is a different beast, and then trying to reach people. And Blacksmith, how's your situation in Lviv today? You got.
So basically, I have two good news, and one of them is that today is the first day that we have electricity and everything is fine for last couple weeks, probably in 2 weeks or so. And comparing me to the east of the country, so I'm on the west of the country, and usually we don't have a lot of problems with electricity, but last 2 weeks were pretty rough, and right now everything is fine. So this is the first news. And the second one, like a small one, just a small victory for Ukraine. Today was, how to say it properly, eliminated probably, yeah. One of the generals who were using the chemical weapon against Ukraine, and he was blown up in Moscow today in the morning, and the SBU today showed the videos of this moment, and this is a small victory for Ukrainians.
Man, I'm glad you mentioned that. I was so concerned with logistics today. I forgot about that. It's big. So it was, I mean, this is something that like you would expect from like Mossad or, some other big intel agency. And so the Russian general in charge of nuclear matters, right?
Not nuclear, basically chemical weapon.
And the Russians have been using chemical weapons at the front lines. I have friends who actually been injured as a result of that, to their lungs.
Same. We probably all have those people, those friends who saw that or were injured because of that.
And it's a story. I mean, it doesn't get talked about much, but Ukrainians know about it. And so I guess Budanov's team. No, this was SBU.
No, basically that was the SBU. So basically, this is for American listeners. It's like a FBI probably in the United States, something like that. And the main guy is Maluk there. So Maluk is the last name. So there's not a lot of information, but we have video results and everything is.
So, but it was a bomb that was planted outside of a residential building in Moscow.
Yeah. And basically they made a special operation where they, those 2 wheels electric stuff to drive through the point from one point to another, which you can rent with your cell phone. I don't know
Oh,
how do you call it
scooters,
in the
yeah.
United States. Like a scooters, yeah. So they planted a bomb in one of the scooter and just park it on the front of the building where that, let me say, guy stayed, that general stayed. And as soon as he walked out, we saw the video about the elimination.
Yep, and I mean this is completely justified, and you know it's, you have to
100%.
be smart, and you're only targeting the guys that are causing the damage and the harm. Which on this idea of being innovative and smart, we should talk about drones a bit. I just had, because I got in this conversation on X. We have the big situation in New Jersey, which I can barely keep up with because we have so much going on here, but it's important. All the drone sightings. Andrew, Blacksmith, have you followed that situation?
So I saw a couple news about it, and I even saw that the journalists were asking Trump a couple questions about the situation. And what we are hearing here in Ukraine about the United States, that this situation is controllable and everything is fine, but I don't know the details of it. Do you have something to tell us about?
Well, I mean, we have what we know in Ukraine, but then we have speculation about U.S. And interestingly, President-elect Trump, at that press conference was, now he's getting security briefings, so he knows a lot more about what's happening. Probably not everything, but he said for sure the government knows what's going on. They know every detail of it. He says, and it mystifies him or concerns him why they don't want to share that information with the public. In a sense, like, how stupid do they think the public is? Which I think is fair. I mean, it's quite extraordinary thing that's happening all the time. It's not just like some random Bigfoot sighting, right? I mean, it's everyone can see it and know about it, including military officials, and it comes on the heels of these past several years. Pentagon started, actually under Trump's first administration, started to release records about drone, like UFO sightings. And then all these rumors, and even the United States Congress has had hearings on aliens, saying that there are these intergalactic, interdimensional beings. Some people, even in the military, have speculated that they are only here when humans get out of control and start to go nuclear. Like otherwise they don't interfere in the game. But there's like high level smart people, powerful people, smart as I don't know, but people in influence saying these things for the past years. I remember the former chief of Israel's space agency. He had just retired, and this was in 2021 or so. And he said, we've been in touch with an intergalactic alliance. His successor at Israel's NASA said all he could say was he said, I can't offer any more information, but he can say that he said my predecessor, is a smart guy. So we have no wonder people have questions, when all this is building up. And then more immediately, and I think from the Ukrainian perspective, like, we face drones all the time. If you live in Kherson, that city in southern Ukraine, it's a human safari, as they call it. The Russians across the river, anytime they see movement, a fire truck going to put out a fire from an artillery attack, or a woman walking to the grocery store, they try to kill them. And I've been under many. In Lviv, you don't have it so much, but you've had it as well. The Iranian drones. I mean, I'm sure you've heard.
So basically, in Lviv, we are having only the big stuff, like which can cross like 500 miles or something, like through all the country, and when they want to hit like a big facilities or something like that. As you mentioned about the Kherson, there's only one river between the Russian side and the Ukrainian side. So, and they're using those small FPV 7-inch, 8-inch, 10-inch drones just to hit everything that is moving and to eliminate. They don't care. So, and this is like the worst stuff, because regular citizens are suffering because of that a lot. And we having a lot of footages which are proving that this is like against the Geneva Conventions and all this stuff, the proper rules of war. When we are talking about Russia, there's no such thing as proper war, no fairness in it.
Yeah, and by the way, when we talk about the United Nations today, they don't care. If Russia does it, they don't seem to care about these things. And it's the same for this. I mean, that's why one thing that we've been doing with our Ukrainian Freedom News team, which maybe people will get to know more about now that we're not on the radio. Here we are. But it's buying drone jamming backpacks. anti-drone stuff to protect soldiers at the front. You wear it, and it creates kind of a force field around you. But so the idea is, I mean, I mean, every time I think of it, I can hear that sound. It sounds like a lawnmower. The Iranian drones slowly creeping through the city, like here in Kyiv. It's pretty terrifying. So we have a lot more knowledge of what's happening with drones here. And there's also been strange side, new objects and new types of drones that the Ukrainians have to figure.
You mentioned about new types of the drones. Today, I was reading in the news that the main person who's working with FPV drones and all of this flying stuff without person in it. So they just said that we became one of the 5th or 6th country in the world who are using laser technologies. And they are hoping to provide it more and more at the front line, because this is probably the best weaponry against the FPV drones right now, because it's quite cheap. Not cheap in producing, but cheap with the ammo, and very like hitting the target like 100% almost. So this is
Ukraine's one of five countries that has this technology.
One of 5 or 6 countries, to be honest, who are starting using these technologies. Because in the end of 2022, beginning 2023, the United Kingdom said that they have a professional stuff which they use, like a laser one, and probably we are, I don't know, changing the experience between our and their armies or something else, or our engineers producing something like this. But we are hoping to have something new at the, it's always at the war when something new becoming popular and you're using this a lot at the front line, you always need to find something new to fight with that. And so the new generation is FPV drones, and probably after it goes the laser technologies.
Well, and this is the point I was making on the Twitter. So if you go to my account at JP Lindsley, Scott Adams, who is very popular on Twitter, more than 1 million followers, he's the guy that created the Dilbert the Dilbert comics, and he posted about the New Jersey drones, and he was saying, we better be ready for this. Like his theory is that the United States military is testing right now, but they don't want to panic the public that we're getting ready for war or something, but that they're testing. But then, and so I responded to him because he's been, a little bit cynical about Ukraine over these past few years. He even said this is not a war because a war only involves 2 parties that have a chance of winning. And he's been really disparaging about Ukraine. And I said, look, Ukraine you're missing this. Your partisanship or whatever is blinding you to the very useful information you could have about drone warfare from Ukrainians. And so I welcome people to check out my thread and then to offer criticism. I had a friend here in Ukraine, an investor who works a lot on drones, who helped me gather this information. But we've seen, for example, that something like more than 90% of American drones that are sent to Ukraine, to be tested, fail. And a main reason is because they're not prepared for drone jamming, GPS denial, or electronic warfare. And Blacksmith, you and I saw this. We had a sort of firsthand glimpse of this. We had a call with CEO of an American defense contractor, a company that makes multiple millions of dollars in revenue, and is considered a techie startup. And they wanted to, like so many people, they wanted to get their hands on Ukraine. They wanted to see what's happening here. And in that conversation, because Andrew, we'll beep that out. Blacksmith, we have
It's okay.
I think it's good to keep it that way. We have you yourself, like so many Ukrainians, have worked on making and producing drones, and so you had more knowledge, even as someone who's not in that industry, more knowledge of what's happening at the cutting edge of innovation than the CEO of this company. And I remember he didn't even. There was a big thing he didn't realize. He didn't realize that the need to be changing the radio frequencies every day on the drones, right? So
it's not basically about the days; it's about the spots you are having. Because today this radio wave is blocked, at that moment this one, and so on and so on. So everybody is trying to match to the situation. So our guys are trying to change it to other way to work. and then the Russian side are blocking it, not to have any income from us. You know what I mean? And so that's always very active, and everything's changing very fast. And so yeah, as you said.
Yeah, and this, I mean, and just not understanding that concept whatsoever. And I think this is, and I've seen this, that I think a lot of American defense companies come here and they want the easy way because they're used to it. And as Trump's new national security pick, Mike Waltz, who's a congressman, he said last April, he held up this bag of bushings that he said he can buy from the hardware store for $100. The Air Force pays $90,000 for it. And they're so used to sort of this coziness and bloatedness of contracts, and so all they do, they want to come into Ukraine very briefly, stay at a fancy hotel for a couple of days, and then they go back, to their investors and pretend to say that they've learned all these things, and they actually haven't. And we see that time and again. And so what I was saying to Scott Adams, what I hope Americans start to pay attention to, and we can go more and more into this in the future, but like. There, and you can see details there on the thread on X. Ukrainians, like, they have a lot of know-how about how to deal with how to use drones and how to take drones out and how to adapt quickly. If you have something strange that shows up, Ukrainians quickly have to figure out what is it and how do we do to stop it. And so that's the point I was making to Scott Adams. But Blacksmith, as you know, we had that personal experience talking with someone who, despite all the resources and money he has, is completely out of the loop. So anyway, well, hey, is there anything else? I thought having you on here is interesting because you listen to a lot of Ukrainian podcasts and shows on YouTube. You know what they're saying on Ukrainian Telegram. So Blacksmith, maybe you can share with us some things you've been hearing from Ukrainian social media, Ukrainian society.
So basically, the most popular things this couple days is the first one, that we have the evidences with the photos of the faces of the Koreans that are trying to fight back the Kursk region. It's the part which Ukraine took from Russia, and we already have the Korean guys, like, saw a lot of them just taking their guns and running like a Second World War, and guys are from the front line saying from a front line saying that this is like something very different from what they had before, because those guys was just running on them. And sometimes it's easy to eliminate all of those, but the quantity is quite big, and that's what's scaring. But basically, we have a lot of already evidences that they are not just standing there helping there or something. They are just fighting as the regular soldiers, same as Russians. This is the first one. And the second one, if anybody is like watching the news of the Europe and what's going on and so on, the president of Romania almost became the pro-Russian guy because of the TikTok. And that's the problem we are having right now also. A lot of the people are writing that the pro-Russian forces, we have it here and there, some of them are secret, some of them are not, some of them are not showing them or waiting the proper moment to make the bad stuff happen. And one of them, so we have like, if anybody knows the Yanukovych, this is the president regime of a pro-Russian regime which flew out of the country when the revolution of Maidan started in 2014. In 2014, yeah. So, and they had the party called the Party of Regions, and right now, basically, we have the same Party of Regions, but they just changed the names, and a couple of the people are in jail or ran away. And the main guy there is Boyko. This is his last name. 2 days ago, or on this weekend, the last weekends, he was talking about starting talking about the Russian narrative. Like.
You're saying this guy? He's in the Ukrainian parliament.
He is he's a member of Ukrainian parliament. His party is one of the has a third or the fourth place of the quantity of people that are in parliament. And basically, he started to share the Russian narratives that Ukrainian radical forces. Who are those? It's probably the government. I don't know. So there is no details. But he said that they don't give an opportunity to Ukrainians to speak their native language, talking like that, secretly about the Russian language, which is not true for everybody in here. You know, he was talking about like that we ruined the statues of like, for example, Lenin or Stalin or Yekaterina II, the like Russian totalitarian regimes and something like that, you know, started go through our medias, and they also opened the TikToks. It's becoming very popular very fast because we know how the Russian bots are working and all of this stuff. The good news that he said this on Saturday probably or Sunday, I don't remember quite exactly. Today, the SBU, so Ukrainian FBI, already called him to talk, and I've seen some photos when he's walking to the court to talk with the SBU, probably to ask him a couple questions. What's going on? Why are you doing like that? I hope that the people like that will go to prison and not run away, because we have those cases in here also.
But Blacksmith, you see, I mean, this is, I mean, I think the Russians know what they're doing when it comes to playing chess on this, because the guy set it up. So now that he's like, oh, he's, no one is oppressed here for speaking Russian. In fact, up until like maybe a year ago, if you spoke Ukrainian in Odessa, people would kind of make fun of you. That's changed a lot now after Odessa gets attacked more and more. But it's quite the opposite. People are made fun of for speaking Ukrainian, if anything. But so he says this statement, and then and he, clearly, pushing Russian lines, and then the authorities come after him, and he's like, "Oh, see, it becomes everything I said was true," and so it's perfectly set up, and it's the same
100%.
The situation in Romania. This guy comes out of nowhere. Who knows who pushed the influence on TikTok, but Americans say, oh, look, once again, you're trying to shut down the people's voice. You're trying to shut down the elections, the platforms like TikTok. You're killing free speech. And so the Russians are quite happy with this. The optics bode well for the Russians. And so I think, what we have to be very attuned to this, and we have to know, like, anytime we say, oh, that's Russian propaganda who's pushing that voice, saying that only makes more Americans skeptical of Ukraine and more likely to want to support Russia. So
this is everything you're saying is totally true, and is not understandable for the people who are not diving deep. For example, like why I'm saying that this boycott, the pro-Russian guy, is 100% doing the wrong thing, because first, he was a part of the Yanukovych regime. This is the first one. So they changed the name of the party, but all of the members are there. When they took the Crimea in 2014, he had the gas pipes in there, which they still working for him, and he is getting money from that. So the connections with Russian are so close. He was after the 2014, before the war in 2000, like full-scale invasion in 2022 started, he was traveling with Medvedchuk, who is a relative of Putin, going there to have the straight communications with Putin, sitting on the same table and talking something. When he came back, we were asking, well, why are you going there? What are you doing? He's like, oh, we are trying to negotiate the conflict and so on. Like, so I just don't want to curse a lot, so I'm trying to be polite in here. And of course, when you're an American, you're just hearing like, oh, people are also talking Russian there, and not only Ukrainian. And this guy just talked about it, and they took him to the jail or something like that. Yeah, it's very easy to make this narrative, and the Russians are doing that. But there's like, when you're diving a bit deeper, like couple feet deeper, you understand all the situation, what's going on right now. And we have a lot of experience in this manipulative stuff, especially about the division of the country with the religion or language or something else. It's not about that. It's about the individuals who are against this country and not doing anything good for it, only the bad things. And this is all of them are starting to behave themselves like the elections will be like very soon. And this is also the ringing of a bell that something is going on. Something is going on, because I've read that Trump was talking to, was saying something like that there was, I found it. We are trying to stop this awful war in Ukraine. We have small progress. This is very hard, and this is very hard case. That's what Trump said. So basically, you see, we are understanding that there are some steps to each other from one or that side, and Russians, I think, if they are going to do some deals or not, it doesn't matter. They are already pushing their narratives, through all the channels they are having here and there.
Yeah, I mean, man, if you see, like, look, for example, in Tbilisi, Georgia, where the pro-Russian party is controlling the parliament. They're changing the constitution. They're getting rid of the elected presidency, because the only institution, the only person in authority in Georgia, in Sakartvelo, as it's called, who country you know well, man. The only person who stood up to with the people in the streets is the 72-year-old lady who's president, and they set it up to get rid of her and to get rid of that office, really. And you see what the argument is, and what the Russians can say to these, like, the leaders in these other countries. If you don't vote with us, if you don't have our people in your government, you're going to get Ukraine. You're going to get bombed. Yes. And those countries have less of a chance, because Ukraine's much bigger and obviously now much more adept. But they're saying, we're going to blow you up, just like we're blowing up Ukrainian cities. And so no wonder they begin to have this influence. And it's a very smart campaign, and sort of we have to pay. It's catching up to us. And by one last thing, because Blacksmith, I know we could talk for hours on this, but we want to try. I mean, we're definitely not on the radio now, because we would have been cut off 15 minutes ago. But we will. This might take different shapes as we go. Man, I hope you can join for some future ones, because I think you can offer good insight, just as you did, like good insights on these things that foreign reporters don't get, that Americans definitely don't hear about. What are Ukrainians chatting about on their YouTube channels, on the Telegram channels. But one thing I just saw a few hours ago, I've been talking about Burisma for a long time. Blacksmith, you've produced a lot of our videos about Burisma, and I think you hate hearing about that word. And a lot of people weeks ago were saying to me, Joe, why do you keep talking about this? Like, it's Hunter Biden, it's on the way out. And I kept talking about it and doing research on it, because I've been paying attention, to people close to Trump. Like, when they come into office, there's certain things they're going to want to investigate. And Burisma is one of them. That energy company that the BBC and Tucker Carlson and everyone says is Ukrainian, but is really Russian. It's part of the Yanukovych regime. It's connected to the Kremlin. And they use that to attack Ukraine. And so what I've been saying is Burisma is part of the corrupt oligarchy Russian faction that Ukrainians started to get rid of in 2014. They didn't want, same with that Boyko guy you mentioned. They didn't want them controlling their country anymore. And they want, to get rid of that sort of Russian deep state. And the Russians have, in their narrative, saying Ukraine is corrupt, even though Russia is the most corrupt country. They've sort of married Burisma and Ukraine. And that's just totally not true. It's not accurate. Ukrainians got rid of that. So, but Elon Musk was tweeting this morning or late last night in the U.S. About Burisma and how, we need to investigate this, but only at the surface level, saying, Biden administration's helping Ukraine because of money from Burisma. And all you have to do is go like one more step or half a step, and you'll see that, Burisma didn't hire Hunter Biden until its CEO had fled to Moscow after 2014. Burisma has gas fields in Crimea. They benefited from Putin stealing Crimea from Ukraine. Burisma hates Ukraine's revolution. They want Ukraine to be controlled by the Kremlin, and they're the ones that have been paying Hunter. And if we could just get Elon to see that, then and others, then you begin to say, oh, wait a second. If you believe in freedom and you hate corruption, Ukrainian people are on your side. Ukrainian people are showing you what to do. And this is my goal is to get people to see this these next weeks.
So honestly, this is practically the same situation, and we can, parallelly it goes. Like when we are talking about Boyko, the same thing with the CEO Zlochevsky. He was a part of with the Yanukovych. They had a nice friendship because they had the deals with Russia and everything. The Burisma scenery, and this is all the situation. So basically, this is exactly the same situation. It's very hard to say that this is Ukrainian company when the owner of it is the Russian puppet. Yeah, practically, jurisdically, jurisdiction was there.
No,
but
it's Cyprus.
everything's like
Cyprus, not even Ukraine. Yeah.
even like that, but we all understand, like, if you make an effort to dig a bit deeper, you will understand everything. But it's very easy to just hear one narrative and decide that this is true, and usually it's not, especially when it comes from Russia.
But especially if it confirms your rightly held frustration with Washington and the system, and it all fits together into the puzzle. And so I understand why people want to believe all that. But actually, if they really want to stand up to the deep state, you have to go a few steps further and see that they're also playing you. They're making you pawns in this game, and as they're doing even with people like Elon Musk.
So what I want to say is that if Elon Musk wants to make an investigation, I would be glad for him to do that, because then he would know all the details of that stuff.
Yeah, indeed. Well,
and maybe change his perspective.
That's what we'll keep doing with our UkraineFreedomNews.com, and that's where you can find links to all of our social media, and we'll post this on X, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook. Not TikTok. I just never had the energy to get on TikTok or Blue Sky, but
oh, you need to be afraid of a TikTok right now.
Yeah, I know. Well, I didn't have
because you can become a president of Romania.
Well, not bad. Actually, maybe I should try, man. I'll start my campaign. And I can't have TikTok because when I go to the Donbass, I don't want people to, they know where you are, and you have to be careful about that. And by the way, we are also buying a bunch of drones for Christmas for our friends of the front line. So we welcome support for that at UkraineFreedomNews.com. Blacksmith, you once had a project where you delivered drones in pizza boxes. Yeah.
Once I had this experience, maybe next time I will tell you this story, if there will be next one, because I hope that there will be a lot of nice guests who will tell their stories in here.
Yeah, and I'm sure you'll return, man. And please offer your comments below on this, our revival of without skipping a day of Chicago's WGN Radio Ukraine report. Again, thanks to Bob Surratt for more than 1,027 days of sticking with Ukraine. I know he had to endure a lot to do that when every other media said no thanks. His editorial perseverance and integrity were really impressive, and for giving me that space to talk. And thank you to that loyal audience. But we move on, and here we go. And please offer your comments on this format as we adapt and adjust in our very succinct conversation today. Blacksmith, my friend, thank you. From Lviv.
Thank you, bro.
Joe Lindsley in Kyiv, UkraineFreedomNews.com. What do we call this? Do we Radio War Day still? Daily Radio War Journal?
I think we will talk about it and then decide the final naming or something.
For now, it's still Radio War Day 1028. And with that, thank you from Kyiv. До побачення.
До побачення.
Thank you for introducing Ukraine on your social media pages. That's very important that much more people can get more information about the situation here and how everybody can help Ukraine to stay stronger and to save all the world.
Что он сказал?
Well, which side are you on?
На чьей ты стороне?
Come on now. Oh, which side are you on?
На чьей ты стороне?